Hey everyone, this is Misery Loves Company. Fuck me, recording live from my fucking parents' house. If you're wondering, if you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, and you're like, his video quality looks like shit. It doesn't usually look quite this bad. That's because I'm not usually in a fucking bedroom in my parents' house recording on a tiny netbook. So any video or audio quality issues can be chalked down to that. Anyway, fuck it. Moving on. This is Misery Loves Company. Each week we host outsider and transgressive authors to come and read their work. Yeah, that's the whole shebang here. So I'm also going to be reading the fucking list of authors off my cell phone screen, which casts a reflective light on my face. So this video's fucked. So anyway, first up tonight is Tyler, but I don't think Tyler is here. I could be wrong, but I don't think he's here. So next up is Daniel. You with us, Dan?
Yeah, I just had my mic muted.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Oh, I think you've got your video muted now.
Oh shit. Oh, fuck. I fucking hate Zoom so much. Sorry,
yeah,
but
yeah, I hear you.
Okay. This is called. Oh God. I need to stop writing titles like this. If you really loved me, you'd called me a whore. Okay. She leaned over the back of her truck, a little tiny blonde with pretty green eyes, above her surgical mask. She said, "Know any good places to get a Caesar around here?" I looked at the back of her truck full of the baggage she was kind enough to let me store for the ride up. "Do you want to drive first and then drink? You want to hit the road already?" I shrugged my shoulders and said, he says, "You better be charming sober or else this is going to be a short trip." Internet dating rarely works out. If I see a spark in a person, I get attached too easily. And it's that little spark, a lit candle in the void of a human being, is so addictive, but feelings are always the worst sexually transmitted disease. Her cup holders were full of OxyContin, and her hand was bandaged from getting in a fight with a door. A family of dancing brown bears lined the winding highway, entranced with her blonde hair. "I want to go to there," I said, and pointed at the mountain that seemed so far away and so high above the windshield we'd both have to grow wings to get there. Every time she smiled, I felt like I had won the lottery. The place was fucking dark, and the hotel parking lot had loggers in it. "I hate cops," she says, and it's honestly something only a cop would say. I wanted so badly to be clever. I didn't go to that logging protest last fall because the Facebook photos were full of dudes with tight shirts and black boots. What do the black boots have to do with it? Well, who wears combat boots in the woods unless they're on the clock? It's a cop or it's a military psyop. Well, now the protests are indigenous-led. All land back, they kicked out the yippies and narcs. Cool. The concierge was a living person, I think. A woman about our age, so chipper and eager to tell us about the glow-in-the-dark starfish on the beach. Glowies. Never seen a sunset from the beach with only the raw Pacific beneath it, but it was mostly clouded over. Her face was so mask-like I felt like a mark, but she didn't steal anything from me that I noticed. I woke up once and I guess she ran my phone. Nothing missing, because there's nothing on it worth stealing. I asked her about her bare feet digging into the earth unconsciously, and it made me sad, like she was trying to hide or something. Painkillers must have her fucked up. She lit up twice, though. Once when she was talking about herbalism and ancient remedies like pennyroyal tea. She lit up when we had sex too, but it felt iffy. She couldn't look me in the eye at any other time. She put my hand on her neck and asked me what I wanted. I said I wanted to meet a nice gal and settle down with an army of dogs. She said she wanted me to call her a whore. Her arms and thighs had tattoos, but no self-harm scars. It's confusing. The pattern wasn't there. But the last night I remembered waking up to her pouring water from her steel black bottle into my mouth. I imagined it was ambrosia, which I guess is just honey and psilocybin. At the boat launch, the ferry was waiting. They got this robot attendant now. Things changed a lot since I was here last. The robot asked for $20 in bronze bottle caps, which I didn't have. Can you break a bottle of bourbon, or do I need to go visit the liquor store before I can cross? Ugh, the robot sighs deep into the uncanny valley. Whatever, fine. Pour 13 ounces of bourbon into the hopper at the top of his head, and he spits out bronze-framed sunglasses. They smell like sulfur, which does nothing for my fucked sinuses. On the dock, eating chicken strips, when I see these robins bouncing around, eyeing the piece of fried potato. They look nice enough, and I always get good tips when I feed the birds, so I take a piece in my palm and hold it up. The bird fears less than I do and hops up and snatches it and flies away. His friend comes back a minute later for more. It's not a good thing to do to feed wildlife garbage food, but it feels good to at least make them a bit happier. There's a woman watching me from behind the mountain of her parents, and her smile makes me afraid. A Russian man and his children sit down across the patio and faces his shoulders towards me and starts telling them stories that I feel too symbolic to be coincidence. A raven is eyeballing me and nodding his beak, so I pick out a nice greasy one for him and hold it out. His beak nearly breaks the skin and he flies back into the trees. I don't really like fries, so I toss them to the gulls in the harbor. Cooks that don't put their name on the menu. They don't own the menu, they're passing off bullshit. When something is off about the food, it can get hairy for everyone. The smell of these wings makes me want to puke all over the hardwood. The masked woman with the sailor tattoos asks if it's all right, and I can't believe she isn't smelling what I am. It's a bar, so her sinuses are probably clogged.
Oh, did Dan freeze up, or am I having computer issues?
Dan froze.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He looks like he crashed, I think.
So, he's still here, so we'll see if he recovers. Oh, he's back in the waiting room. Let's see.
Sorry, it crashed. I need to turn off video.
Okay.
Can I start from where I left off?
Yeah, I think you were on the wings, the smell of the wings.
Right. Okay, one sec. The masked woman with the sailor tattoos asks if it's all right, and I can't believe she isn't smelling what I am. It's a bar, so her sinuses are probably clogged the fuck up something fierce. I feel like I've been poisoned again just by touching it. I have to use alcohol wipes to clean whatever residue off my fingertips. I hear voices outside my head. The men here are trying to tell me something, but I have no idea what it is yet. It's vaguely threatening, but all voices sound threatening sometimes. My phone starts talking on its own. The bartender looks mad. I have electronics inside a safe space, so I take my shirt off onto the beach and launch it into the ocean. Or take my shit onto the beach and launch it into the ocean. When I take my clothes off and fold them and launch myself into the ocean, I drink a few handfuls of seawater because the salt will keep the demons in for a while, I guess, but that doesn't stop the glass full of Labrador thistle tincture from entering my mouth and stomach and crossing the blood-brain barrier. The rising tide catches the cheap sneakers off Amazon and pulls them under the dock. I have no voice in my head or chest. It's just the things I remember when I look at a tree that's shaped a certain way, or a dead snake on the side of the road. A phrase falls out of my mouth that I never heard before. It sounds wise, but I don't think I came up with it or read it anywhere. Something is talking through me, maybe. I know because if I say it to people, I watch them go white as ghosts while I speak. Their eyes go wide and their pupils dilate like I just sprayed MDMA in their mouths. I'm still feeding the birds when I can, though. 2 ravens follow me around the island because I fed them once in town. My feet are bloody, but they don't seem to care. I imagine it may look weird to see a man on the road having a lively argument with a conspiracy of ravens, but this place has a reputation for bringing the ghosts out of people in ways they are numb to. There's this fallen log up a steep face of a small hill, and it's covered with moss, so it doesn't hurt so much to just walk up it barefoot. The top of the hill has been clear cut. Only stones and sand and stumps remain anywhere on the plateau. I sit on a rock and talk to a tree stump about my family, and it's a way better listener than anyone in my family. For some reason, I felt like I might find a discarded and sealed bottle of water somewhere in the woods, but I wasn't so lucky. I piss Rusty onto the bare clay and some gets on my feet when I hear a woman's voice from down the mountain. Are you lost? I don't know how to answer truthfully without being weird, so I lie. I'm looking for my dog. She smirks a bit. She has long, dark, curly hair with wisps of gray. She has long legs below her denim shorts, and she's not wearing a bra under her t-shirt. There was just a guy here looking for his dog a bit ago. What was the dog? It was a border collie, you know? Well, I haven't seen any of those around here. Okay, thanks anyways. I turn around to go back down the hill when she calls after me. You look a bit rough. Do you want some water? She has a tiny home on a small parcel of land. Her cat hides from me as I walk onto her deck overlooking the ocean. Do you want to sit here or maybe come to the little dining area? Whatever you're most comfortable with. She pours water, and it feels uneasy to once again put myself in a position to be drugged or poisoned. Her name is French, which is reassuring for some reason. Why are you wandering around without a shirt or shoes or phone or wallet? Oh, they fell into the ocean. What about your shirt? I just took it off because it was getting hot. She pours water into a bowl and tells me to wash my feet. I overlook it because feels too, I don't want to say. The psych wards always have 3 motherfuckers who think they are Jesus. Hospitals are lousy with Christs. Your feet might get infected if you don't wash them, Monlu. She says it quietly in my ears, and for a moment, I stop following her body with my eyes. Monlu, it means my love in the casual way, but some also use it the old way. The Royal French, it means my wolf. It's troubling to be seen without clothing, but I guess I had claw marks on my back brought out by the sun. We stare at each other, and I see a rose petal drop from her garden to my water. I drink all of it because it's rude to turn down the gifts of a host. Do you want me to call someone for you? Like who? Your friends or family maybe can help? Oh, I don't think I have any numbers memorized. Do you think maybe you need the police? If that would make you feel more comfortable, then sure. She's taken aback. Most people are when they try to make you think something is your idea and you let them know it's not. The cops show up anyways, and one is a giant Captain Aryan looking motherfucker and a skinny little guy with dark hair and glasses. Skinny dude is probably the one with the Sidewinder in his car. The big cop asked me where I was staying, and I tell him. He asked me if all my stuff is still there, and I tell him it should be besides the stuff I threw into the ocean. He drives me to the hotel in the back of this fuck off bulletproof Humvee with a carbine racked against the dashboard. I cross my arms over my chest like I'm going to be buried, and I'm chuckling under my breath when I see him look back in the mirror and hide his smile. The receptionists look a little unnerved when I show up wearing pants and nothing else, covered in bramble scars and sunburned. We had to charge you for another night. No worries, my dudes. It was nice to be in air conditioning again, at least. Off that island and onto the bigger one, this lady at the ice cream shop at the ferry terminal has cute green eyes above her black mask. Her name tag says Sequoia, but I guess that's just the work name. The mint chocolate chip is something I miss, and I give her an imperfect fractional tip she appreciates because my 2-scoop cone is piled up 9 inches off the 4-inch waffle cone. This is a good moment. I hear someone come up to the terrace behind me, so when his back is turned, I put the stone in my pocket from off the table. I asked Sequoia where the bathroom is while wiping her mint, sugar, and cream off my lips. It's full of Siamese cats and dragon statues that look like stones but are really just decorative soaps. The toilet is clean, but there's a black curtain over the mirror. I want to make sure I don't look like a toddler with ice cream all over my face when I go back out, but it's not my place to take the curtain off someone else's mirror. I overhear Sequoia's manager dropping at least a full roll of dimes onto the floor out of boredom or something, one at a time. My phone is with the sea now, and Sequoia turns her head like a puzzled puppy when I ask her how long it would take to walk back to my home. Probably about 15 hours, according to Google Maps, she says, looking up from her phone. Well, shit, I better get going. I load my bags and she says, have a good one. But really, I know she means until we meet again. That's
That
it.
was amazing. Sorry there was a break there. Usually I have it up and I'm following along so I know when someone's done so I can say, oh, that, so that I can interrupt. But now I don't, I just have to judge if the silence is long enough. But no, Daniel, that was spectacular. That was a really beautiful piece. And it captures something that I think a lot of pieces about mental illness don't, which is that if you have the, as someone who's had, had his share of like mental health crises, there are some that are like really fucking impenetrably dark, but there are some that are oddly mystical feeling and oddly romantic feeling. And you really captured the like essence, I think, of one of those like breaks with reality that somehow like intensifies like the meaning and profundity of reality, if that makes any sense.
Like that's how I feel about my own mental illness, is that everyone was convincing me I was just a sick person. I'm like, no, this is beautiful to me. Like I don't want to take these meds that dull this, because this is the reason why I exist, basically.
Yeah,
and being able to write about it is good. It's the one good outlet you can have for something like this, and in a way that, just telling a psychiatrist these stories and they're gonna roll their eyes within 3 seconds.
Yeah,
That's inspiring, dude.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Yeah, when you write about it, you can capture the lucidity of it, right? And you can convince yourself of the lucidity of it. And when you're talking to a therapist or something, the very like nature of that interaction is designed to make you feel like you're nuts.
Yeah.
But no,
Yeah, no, I want to double down on that. Just the like the feeling of like wanderlust. I mean, as opposed to like being lost completely. Just that, I think that distinction there is definitely like comes through in the work, and that's super cool, honestly.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, I feel like those moments people expect when they know someone is mentally ill, they expect you to be freaking out or something. But like when you can be calm and have these experiences and explain them slowly without really caring if someone is gonna like think you're insane or something, they actually start believing you more, because you're not trying to convince them. You don't care if they believe or not.
Yeah. And just no, I linked the wrong piece in there. I don't think there was a link to that piece.
Yeah.
Oops.
I didn't have that on doc. Sorry.
Sorry about that.
That's a different, whatever, it's fine. That's still part of the same big thing that I've been working on. So
Gotcha.
I'll just read that one next week.
Cool. Yeah. You definitely need to show this off when you're finished with it. When you need to get it bound up into them dead trees. When you finish with it, definitely.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Thank you, Dan. Adam Johnson is up next.
Thanks, William.
Hey, Adam, you described these to me as a series of cuckold poems, I think.
Yeah, I think that would best describe them collectively. I did remove one and replace it with a different one, but there are 4 total, so Um,
No, I can link these in the chat, but not in. You don't want these linked on
or
Twitter.
you can link them wherever. I don't ever plan to publish them, not because of their personal nature, just I think they're, I mean, I have no problem with them being sent out anywhere. and
Okay,
not-
I'll throw them on Twitter then too.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want with them.
Cool.
Sweet, it's all yours.
So the last one is Barb the Shrink. So when that's done, they're done. Okay. First one is called Headlights. They were heading home from the rooftop bar. He had a shitty night. It was all her fault. She wasn't paying attention to him or his feelings. She was probably seeing someone, he thought. That would make sense, he thought. So he started in on her and called her a name. You know the one. She told him he was right. She had been fucking around with a couple guys. 2, he said. 3, she said. Then he said that a couple means 2. He floored it up the driveway and into the garage. She ran in to pay the sitter. He grabbed a little stepladder and started beating on the front of the car. He smashed out the headlights and tore off the license plates. He was worked up. Then he slept in the back of the car. It was summer. The night air was hot. In the morning, he woke up in a pool of sweat and lit a smoke. Then he went inside and found her in bed and begged her not to leave him. She said she wasn't going anywhere. Take it easy, she said, and pulled the covers up over her head. Then he went out to the garage and swept up the glass from the headlights. Then he lit another smoke. He heard his kids yelling for him in the house. They wanted breakfast. Then he crawled back into the car and fell asleep again. This next one's called My Wife's Boyfriend. He's not all bad. He's all right. He has ideas. He's into music. He's into campfires, I hear. He's a straight up guy. He's confided in me about some things in his life, in his past. He's not all bad, but I don't like seeing his car on the street when I get home. We tried to work out a schedule. I thought we had a schedule, but it didn't last. They don't pay me any heed, but it's okay. She's okay. He's okay. This one's called New to Town. They moved into the old bungalow, the one that Dave and Janine lived in. They were friendly. They painted the house Oxford gray. They did it themselves. She picked out the color. They waved at the neighbors. By the end of the summer, they were burning through 3 bottles of white before the kids were even down. They had a favorite Vino Verde from the local shop priced at $8. What's 8 times 3 times 7 times 52 anyway? They were on a first name basis with the employees. One of the employees was deaf. She was the best. They were living it up in their new house. As they said, you only live once. But then he got a little diagnosis. Nothing serious, then serious. And he was gone by November. The cancer snuck in and snatched him up off the street like that. And she was stuck with the kids and the mortgage and the bills. But he left her some life insurance and a little surprise annuity that she got a call about in week 2 of mourning. So there was that. And she had her memories. For example, the day they picked out the paint and he stole some extra paint rollers from the store. She guilted him into returning them. So he did, and picked up his second DWI on the way back to the store. He had a little plastic cup on him holding a warm tequila and Coke. He didn't have any ice at the house, but he just had to have his Brody. He was committed to things. May he rest in peace. This is the last one, called Barb the Shrink. Barb had a nice little practice, a husband, some kids, and a Tesla. She knew that 1 + 1 equaled an Oedipal complex. She had all the right words in the moment. Then she took on a new patient. Salazar was his name. He was referred. He was inhibited and married, but not for long. Somewhere the lines got crossed and Barb went down on him in a session. They'd been talking about dads. Then they had some hotel sessions outside regular hours. Salazar's wife found some texts, and Barb went to jail, but only for a little while. She was more upset about losing her kids and her license in the divorce. They were old enough to pick living with mom or living with dad. That's what the judge said anyway. Years later, the kids forgave her and she inherited a little something from an old uncle. Everything worked out. Nobody on earth is living the life that we think they are, and almost all of the earth outside of nature is a magician's trick. So
Those were beautiful. I've obviously I've read more of your poetry besides these four, since you have a few pieces forthcoming with us in the coming months here. But I love the way you handle details in your poems, and especially in these pieces. They're so like meticulously constructed. There's so much emotion in like every fucking line, every detail, every like nuance of the text is carefully chosen for like maximum impact in minimum words, right? And it is, I love your use of like a couple means two in the first one. Like that is so cutting and so hilarious and just communicates like at once like how just funny that moment is, but how like vicious and ugly and sad it is too. So just fucking great poems, man.
Thanks, William. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
thank you for reading. Hopefully you'll keep coming back and sharing with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I love how brutal. Just to back up, William, I love how brutal like these cut both ways. How brutal the cut is, both, and it goes literally both ways and in all directions. Where like every line has like a meaning that could be at once sad and also very like vibrant and just like weirdly vibrant. Just just shows the stupid energy of life. The energy, even if it's like weird bad energy, it's just really cool. And I love, someone had mentioned in the chat the repetition. I love the cadence of these, how they play out. So it's really really good stuff.
Thanks a lot, Rudy.
The stupid energy of life. That puts it really well. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing, Adam. And Michael, you're up next.
Cool. Let me just share this Google Doc here. Yeah, this is an unpublished piece. I think that should work for everybody.
Okay, I'm not going to share this on Twitter then.
All right, cool. Thank you. Cool. All right. So this piece is called Tryouts. Tentacles, once fingers, wriggle madly from the center of my wet left hand. Before I can tear it away, the glove bursts open. Control, I tell myself, control. I'm standing in the shadow of a dumpster in the parking lot, 100 feet from the clubhouse, listening to chit-chat about cloud decks beyond the trees, whether rain might come. A group passes by, and the rattle of their metal clubs and canvas bags recalls a train. Remember why you're here, I tell myself. Tryouts, golf team, sophomore year. Get yourself together. I repeat these words over and over, and the riot of tentacles proceeds. Suction cups fade, violent pink receding into human fingers again. I open one of the pockets, find a spare glove, tug it on. I loiter near the back of the group, 40 or so kids vying for the 6 spots on the team. Our first hole is an upslope par 4 toward a green ringed by bulbous sand traps. Peeking above the rise and the hill is a blue flag, tickled by the breeze on the green. My turn. I take a golf ball and a wooden tee, one of the blue ones my father gave to me when he dropped me off, step forward and press the tee's point into the damp earth. Legs apart, feet squared. Don't look up during the swing. More thoughts in my father's voice. Then I step back and walk over to my golf bag, slide the driver back in and remove the 6-iron. Chatter on the tee, but I ignore it. I reposition myself, raise the club and swing it like a knife through water. I don't look up as the metal strikes the ball, as the ball cuts through the breeze, as someone behind me mutters, "Nice shot." I look up and watch my ball settle on the right side of the fairway near the top of the incline, ahead of everyone else's. A rush of pride like my head's been dunked in near boiled water. I grin and follow the others down the rocky steps to the fairway. One by one, balls are knocked forward. I feel invincible. I stick with the 6-iron. Hot sun on my arms, but my swing is bad. The metal club face chomps the grass and exposes soil. The ball soars past the green, out of sight. God damn it. Everyone is staring at the divot I've made. Shame bubbles inside me. Idiot. Why'd you think you could make the team? Why'd you agree to try out for the team? This isn't your game. All those lessons were meaningless. My left hand quakes. I clench my hand around the club shaft and march past the sand traps, and the balls of the other players arrayed like a white constellation around the hole. The breeze rises and the pin flag licks the blue sky. God damn it. I find my ball in the grass and swap my 6-iron for a 9-iron. Gently now, gently. Coax it forward. My father's voice again, or maybe my uncle's, maybe both, an amalgam of figures who've raised me. I swing the club back, only half height, and let it fall. The ball arcs forward and plunks against the green, rolling about 6 feet before it stops, the furthest from the others. Because of this, it's still my turn. Salty water drips from my left glove to the close-cut grass, and I'm unsure if it's merely sweat. I grab my putter from the bag and stand next to the ball, eyes on the green, weighing its slight tilt, how the wind nudges the world just left of me. I urge the ball on with the putter and, miraculously, it rolls right into the hole. My left hand quivers, then falls still. But the next hole, I slice one into the woods. A fallen branch splinters beneath the thin sole of my shoe as I dig through the brush with my 5-iron in search of my ball. One of the guys in my group said he saw it collide against the tallest of the trees. I think he's lying. I turn and see them all clustered on the green, watching and leaning on their clubs. One of their mouths is in motion. I use my right hand because the fingers of my left are jelly in the glove. I look at the trees and imagine some path through the direction of home. What I'd say when I get there. The response of my father's face. How in the end I just hide in the deep end of the pool, the sun's heat blocked at the water's surface and reduced to white snakes on the floor. When the first rotation around the 9-hole course is finished, I'm asked to wait while my group lines up for their next playthrough. One of the assistant coaches tells me, "We're shuffling things around, so we need you to hang back, bud." Scrawny, red-faced, red-haired giant who graduated from Montfort High a few years back. I buy a Gatorade from the pro shop and lean against the warm wall outside, watching groups pass through the first hole again. After a while, the assistant coach returns and beckons me to a golf cart. "We're going to move you up," he says. So I lash my golf bag to the back and sit beside him. The golf cart whines and scrapes its way up the hill, tossing gravel behind us. He explains that I'll shoot the 4th hole, a par 3, on my own, and then join with the group that just finished it. Okay, I say. The wheel of anxiety, never gone, spins unhindered. I feel very thirsty and stare at the now empty Gatorade bottle. As we pull up to the tee, I recognize the stocky guy standing beside the pin. The head coach, Leary, something of a local god. I remember hearing whispers as an incoming freshman about Leary and that weird rest area on the northern highway that juts across town. Some discovery of him one night. A scandal clapped between powerful hands before it could spread beyond incredulous rumor. Still, here he is. Here for my assessment. Fuck. Damn. The assistant coach parks the cart and, after a quick look at Leary, guides me to the tee, instructs me on where to place the ball as if I've never played the game. The whole scene relaxes me and I play along, let him point out where my feet should go. My mind empties. My left hand is calm. I've got my 7-iron. Leary clears his throat. Then there's only the wind and the chorus of oaken limbs and leaves and the distant honk of geese. I swing. The ball climbs, a dot against the sun. Then it plunks on the green and stops maybe 3 feet from the hole. "Good," says Leary. As I descend from the tee and walk toward the green, I think how his voice reminds me of my uncle's, and then I wonder whether they ever met. They must be around the same age, both Montfort born and raised. I think about what my uncle taught me about golf. "What your dad told you is shit," he once said. "Use the stance that feels right. Like finding a personal truth, the correct self, the absolute." He said this while sucking down a small cigar and waiting for me to take my shot first. We don't play anymore. His mind now claimed by the abandon of disease, his mouth a stone, a living tomb in the sunroom. I reach my ball and nudge it into the hole with the putter. I turn and watch the assistant coach wave. Leary is gone. At the next tee, my new group waits for me, suspicion shining in their eyes. More from the sporty crowd at school. "You're up," they say. I ready my ball and grab my driver. It's a long hole now, par 5. Where the fairway starts to turn right looms a mammoth tree. Geese peck through the grass at its base. Don't think about the others, I tell myself, in my own voice, no one else's. I swing, too shallow, the driver's face only clipping the ball. It bounces off the green to the start of the fairway, maybe 40 feet, and rolls to a limp stop. Laughter from the group. I stuff the driver in the bag, and the rubber grip thuds against the bottom. We're moving on, one of the group members says to me. Their voice says, don't screw this up for us. We're actually trying to make the team. Montfort's position as a top town for high school golf gilds their tone. All I can do is nod as I take a separate path toward my ball. I grab one of the irons, not sure which, sweating now, thinking of the bad shot. A twinge in my left hand. Come on, not now. I don't wait to line up my shot as I swing. The club face misses and gnaws the grass. Another swing, another patch of grass chewed up. My left hand fingers fatten and threaten to spike away from the club. I clap my right hand over them and whip the club back, swing as fast as I can. The ball soars and strikes the trunk of the tree, then ricochets and smashes against one of the geese. The other birds panic and take flight. I hear holy shit from the group ahead, but none of them move in my direction. I rush to the fallen bird. Its wings twitch on the grass, feathers spread around like debris from a sunken ship. In the distance, my group assembles on the green. I have been forgotten. The bird's twitches stop, and I think about the fact I ended a life. Then my left glove bursts open, fingers gone, tentacles surge in size, my arm cleaves in two, suckers blooming up and down my wet pink skin. With my free arm, I reach for my golf bag, grab it, ignore how the skin on my right hand is beginning to blush. I tug the remaining clubs from the bag and let them clatter on the fairway. I jam my tentacles into the bag. Though hidden, they drum against the inner wall of the bag. Then I see him, a player in my group, watching me from the green, seeing all that I've become, his mouth open and face ripe with sun. Leaving my clubs piled like an unkindled campfire, I bound for the other side of the fairway where it rungs alongside a road. Just a leap over a waist-high wooden fence. As my feet hit the road, my right shoe breaks apart and the asphalt burns my skin. My newborn tentacles slime the pavement. But enough of me is sturdy, upright, strong. I run, run, run. I can't stay in this pool forever, but it's safe. For now. The water is cool against my skin, and the shadows of the trees stretch across the concrete pool. A home feeling. I can't smile, but joy fills me. I rush from one end of the pool to the other, again and again. I am all speed. I wonder what will come next. If and how I'll hear my father's voice when he gets the call about his missing son. He won't search here first. But when he remembers my love of swimming and comes to check, I'll spread against the bottom of the pool, lie flat as I can, still as a stone, and my body will turn blue, true blue, so that when he looks at me, he'll quickly turn away, thinking only that the water appears as it should. And that's it. Thank you.
That ending was fucking tremendous. First of all, I love the way this piece is a real slow burn. I think it's perfect because you tell us, like, it's one of these pieces where you open by telling us exactly where this is going, but the way you build towards that, like the level of like intricacy and detail and slow development of like the narrator's state of mind, and it's just this escalating and building sense of like anxiety and tension in the reader that so perfectly matches what's going on. But the fucking ending blows me away. Like the camouflage, I didn't anticipate you to use that particular facet of like what an octopus is capable of. The camouflage thing fits so perfectly with themes and fits so perfectly with that feeling of like teenage angst and that desire after you know as a kid that you've really fucked up to just vanish. I don't know. It's beautiful. It's beautifully written. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Gabriel, you're up next.
Hey everyone, I am reading Okay, so I have to kind of explain it a little bit. I've been working on this novel for like 6 years. It's about the novel. I just changed the name. It's now called Who Cries with the Madman. The part I'm reading tonight has nothing to do with the novel. It's a piece I wrote for something else, and I just embedded it in the novel. It's just kind of like a like a conscious kind of contrarian detour. But I want to read it out loud tonight just to see if I want to take it out. And I have to actually give credit for the anti-sentientists concept to my friend John Paul, because this was originally written for kind of a satirical anthology that he was going to do that never materialized. So I just put it in the novel to see if it worked.
Gabe, I can't actually access the document that you sent. It looks
Yeah, you
like
know what? I couldn't. It didn't have the option. I'll just read
Okay.
it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, for some reason it didn't give me the option to share with everyone. It just I
Oh,
don't know if the Google Docs. I don't know. I gotta revisit that. But yeah, I'll just read from it.
okay.
Yeah, sorry. I hail you, umbilical wind. You are not pushing me away as much as you are showing me where I came from, while the momentum of history continues to pound it out. The ghosts of the indigenous, the cowboys, of genocide and tradition, of escape, homestead, and obsolescence. Wisdom trickling yet evaporating before it hits the ground like this poor rainfall of drought. I look to the sky with my mouth agape. Only the savage will survive. Bring it on. I came here to cultivate my ignorance, so I can't lose. May the wind bleach my mind of everything I've ever learned. Ever since I was a kid, I believed no thought or idea is inconsequential, because every harmless contemplation I harbor tends to carry with it the specter of death, competing with its own shadow. Like shavings of hematite, the shards of black reflection fuse together to construct a large unconscious mass, accumulating like the storm I beg to come. But I must protect this land from my thoughts. They may bring the wrong kind of storm. Thankfully, I have finally fallen in with the right-wrong crowd. The anti-sentientists will be the last true rogues, as their philosophy itself will ensure this, negating all opposing thought because they negate thoughts, period. The anti-sentientists believe in earnest that thought in and of itself is the source of all evil. Think about it, and then stop immediately. Since the beginning of time, which is also a thought, man's own will, which has led to nothing but the slow decay of our planet, all started with a thought. Now, what do we have? The power of positive thinking, which has proved just as dangerous as the inverse power of negative thinking, as a good thought will often be born of delusion, while we are left unprepared for the results of negative actions, carried out by those with the audacity to think. This doesn't leave a whole lot of room for gray area. The illusionary chasm between these opposites is soon filled with anxiety to define the disparate, which further creates a division of humanity. We gather up the hill at an unlikely location, a bookstore. That's right, a place that sells thoughts, owned by a man who is the reluctant founder of anti-sentientism. The discomfort of our first meeting all makes sense now. He hesitated to take my chapbooks because they are just another thing he'd have to get rid of. But he had some sympathy to burn. He insists on remaining anonymous, as anonymity is another pretext of anti-sentientism. The man justifies his proprietorship by unabashed exploitation, a reappropriation before an orchestrated extermination of thought, which he also hopes to see extinct one day. He scours Southern California for all the most dangerous thoughts that could be bound into a spine. He then hoards them in his shop, so they'll be confined to one place instead of all over the counties. He then turns these books into money, the one object on earth that will one day take away all thoughts. As the transactions occur, he seizes the opportunity to preach the word of anti-sentientism to a captive audience of one. Briefings that are so effective that most customers will return home and thoughtlessly forget all about their recent purchase. We meet, or we don't, at the shop after it closes. Sometimes during business hours, we pose as customers, acting interested in the man's archaic kindling. Our gatherings are so clandestine that we not only forget what was discussed, we have zero recollections the meetings ever actually took place. A precarious life I lead, entrenched in this invisible coven of fascistic transcendence, while willfully writing these books of mine, full of thoughts, making what you have in your hand immediate contraband, but only when I am the one holding it. Never forget what you are reading here is actually considered dangerous to others. The anti-sentientists would never understand, nor would they want to, that I write to rid evil thoughts, all thoughts from my mind. I consider it the first step to not think. To keep them in ignorance, I use an assumed name. I fear such a reveal will otherwise hold severe consequence, the way they carry themselves in absolute silence, so stifling that I am afraid to hear them speak. The imagined utterances, not so much the content of what they would speak, but the fact that something could pierce our collective silence is its own punishment. Contrarian as it seems, I can't stop and won't stop writing, as a man has to start somewhere when he aims to achieve absolute removal.
I love that. I love the concept. It's such a brilliant concept, and it's such a brilliant, I think, like deconstructive critique of writing and the value of literature. I really dig the idea of like books as just another thing that the bookseller has to get rid of, right? That was a great moment. And the way it's written is a perfect match for the concept, because it really feels like one of those like 19th century like existential or philosophical novels in the way you've structured the prose and stuff, which I think dovetails perfectly with what you're trying to do here. So
Yeah, that's it. I wish I could take credit for the concept, but yeah, that's exactly what my friend John Paul, who came up with the concept, was trying to create. Basically, he wanted to create like a satirical version of something like that. So glad
Yeah.
it came across.
fantastic, Gabriel. And I'm eager to, have you read anything from the novel yet besides this?
You know what? I think the first time I came to MLC, I read from it. It's taken on all new shapes, and I changed the title and everything.
Well, I
But
mean,
yeah, it's like a domestic dystopia, kind of speculative fiction novel.
that sounds fucking awesome. I'm eager to hear more. I need to check and see who's up next though, because I've forgotten. Oh, Sam's up next. Are you still with us, Sam?
Yeah, I'm here. Okay, this was coming out on XPAD on Monday. I'm
Just so
pretty
you know,
sure.
Sam, your camera's off, which is fine if you want it to be. But last
Yeah,
time you were here, you were like, "Oh shit, my camera was off the whole time." So
I think it has to be off because I'm reading it on my phone.
gotcha.
So,
All yours.
all right. So this is called Thomas Mann, but he is a chemist. Hang on. We chemists know much about the material world. What about the world of second nature? Second nature is nature, after all. The feelings we often speak of as subjective have their own vocabulary, their own interplay, their own substance or stuff, surely. What happens, for instance, if two people fall in love? That is, not when they are approaching it, or when they are hesitant to approach it, unsure of what it is they are seeing, and unsure if the other is seeing it too, but when they actually both know. What happens when the moment becomes reciprocal? Holding hands during a forest hike, making out behind the bar after a cigarette. She doesn't smoke, but she has simply stopped caring that he does. What constitutes this world as being different? Surely the atoms are the same. The stuff it is made of is the same. But why does this substance, this stuff, seem so different at the time? So much richer or lighter? Two people have twice as many eyes, as many muscles, as much intelligence. That can't be. Twice as much will, surely. And we could say that will is the stuff that some of those are made of, whatever will is. A will cannot be free, we chemists like to say, good materialists that we are. But this will can, if strong enough, simply believe itself to be free. With two of them, two wills combined, could this freedom be made a bit more true? The world is the same size, the same weight, and the same distances make it up. The amount of stuff is the same, but now that two is one inhabited, is there some sort of parallax of intentions that make it more? Or show that this more was already there? A chemist will shine different wavelengths of light on a substance, that is, some stuff, and she will measure its purity, its reactive qualities, its overall behavior at this excited state. Do these two unified intentions do the same? Nature includes second nature, after all. The man approaches his desk and looks at a disposable Bic pen. The pen is just a regular pen, but now he feels as though it can write a novel or create calligraphic mathematical proofs. He orders some dark blue ink, a fountain pen, and large sheets of lined paper to practice on. Each morning, he solves a calculus problem from an old textbook on scrap paper and then neatly writes it in this beautiful blue ink against a larger bone white sheet of paper. It becomes a meditation, the sound of the pen on the paper, the morning glow casting an orange tint to the paper as the pen streaks across, leaving collapsing rivers of dark blue, varying in width depending on the pressure he exerts, being careful to avoid pressing too hard so as to prevent a fork. One morning, he properly writes an ampersand, and he shows it to his wife, shows it to her. This and that was so difficult to master that he took several days to master. He wakes her a few minutes before her alarm. She observes, first bemused, then enthused. She would fall back to sleep previously, and sometimes she still does, staying in bed. But now she makes an effort to keep awake when he rises early so she too can listen to the sounds of the fountain pen, the sound of scribbles changing into focused, intent, balanced streaks as his fingers, hand, and arm act in total coordination. He begins to recompose fragments of Newton's Principia in this beautiful, beautiful blue ink against this bone white paper without understanding the contents. He knows this, the flippant vanity of it, the narcissism of it, but he simply enjoys the sound of the pen, the view of the ink, and the neatness of the proofs. His handwriting becomes quite elegant, and now he recomposes poetry by hand in this beautiful blue ink against this bone white paper, now bound in a leather notebook she purchased for him. Her world, too, is richer. Seeing his love of poetry, she begins reading German for the first time since high school, first Goethe's poetry, and then his Faust. The archaic vocabulary is stubbornly powered through with several large decks of Anki note cards and Duolingo. It only takes a few weeks, and she is reading through the metamorphoses of plants. She plants a small garden on the balcony, some microgreens, some mint, some basil. She begins researching botany and borrows a large sheet of her husband's beautiful paper to sketch an outline of her garden, accounting for each square inch of their modest balcony. He purchases a few cacti for the bedroom window, something low maintenance that he can manage to add some green to their room for her. He begins looking at real estate in hopes of finding a house, or if not, a ground floor apartment with a fenced-in yard. He finds a modest one, makes the proposal to her, and she agrees, and that autumn they move. The garden grows, his poetry improves, her German becomes fluent, his handwriting more elegant. Often they are caught in a strange feedback of compliments, thinking about one another, thinking about one another, talking about one another, talking about one another. How they did when they first met, how they did last week, how they do now, and how they will tomorrow, then tomorrow, then tomorrow. Time creeping at a more leisurely pace, now that there are two of them to account for its moments. The narcissism of it, though not narcissism, it is not pathological or doesn't feel itself to be to them, but still, the narcissism, the arrogance, the surety of their love's unique nature and their optimism, hubris, then all the more arrogant and narcissistic they shall act. If someone would be arrogant enough to speak to them about their arrogance, it would give them yet another problem to collaborate on solving. They are positivists of love. The world is richer and lighter, farther and more near, more easily known and more unknown. Everything is doubled because there are two of them to see it. They can make plans, larger plans than if there was only one of them. More than that, they can will them to reality, not material reality, of course. We chemists know that subjective intentions cannot affect the material world, the material stuff. But is nature not also composed of second nature? I cannot think the baseball to move, but I might decide to pick it up and throw it. The neurons fire in a specific way. The acetylcholine selectively tenses my muscles. But this doesn't mean that I also didn't decide to pick up the baseball and throw it. What if we separate our union and note the difference in our leisure? That is, vary the independent variable. A tragedy, the wife dies, or the husband dies. No, let's not be too cruel to them. A crack occurs. An erosion of unity allows a third party, a third intention, to leverage this unity in two. It does not matter for us, the reason. After a well-measured few years, the man approaches his desk and grabs his fountain pen. The pen is no longer the light pen, the meditative tool of the calligrapher, and instead becomes not less of a pen, but simply a bit farther away from the man. It can still write. It can still hold those rivers of dark blue ink, but the man finds that when he goes to construct a proof or compose a poem, the effort is sluggish, the ink too thick. The rivers which formerly ran smooth now form oxbows, and he keeps pressing too firmly, and the rivers fork in two. The elegant script becomes rarer, tending toward scribbling cacophony. He often X's out drafts now, taking a simple glee in throwing the effort away. More drafts are needed to get it just right. Or was he ever that good? Was he ever anything but a dilettante, simply having fun? He wonders. The woman finds that her German, too, has become sluggish. She hasn't practiced her note cards in a few weeks, and she manages to keep her plants watered, her garden tended, but she simply doesn't have the excess will needed to keep up with her review. She picks up Faust and finds that she loses the thread after a single paragraph. The book is the book, but it somehow no longer welcomes her. These previously treaded paths now feel a bit overgrown. The hills are a bit steeper, the sun a bit hotter. The air has a stale odor clinging to it. Her plans for the garden, her list of plants curated for each season, these ambitions are ignored and unaccounted for. She doesn't have time for it now. But she still feels, by all accounts, to be in the positive. Though the garden is shrinking, it is still healthy. Though the man's calligraphic skill is sedimenting, it is still there, isn't it? Made of the same material, the same fibers and muscles, the same eyes, the same stuff, just half as much. The stuff of the pen appears farther away. One moves much faster on four legs. How did this happen? As if the entire realm of their love dispersed, coated every item, made each and every monad, and every realm face them specifically and offer its possibilities. Not materially, of course. We chemists know that our subjective impulses do not affect the material stuff. But what about the other realms, those of second nature? Now each monad seems inert, as if each decided of its own accord to face inward. When the chemist shines a specific wavelength of light on a substance, that is, on some stuff, she discovers new properties and behavior of that substance, its purity, its behavior at an excited energy state, when the electrons are sprung to a new valence. These behaviors are noted, and the light is turned off. The substance, the stuff, is still there. She weighs it, makes a note of this weight in her ledger, and shuts it, and dispenses with our little clump of stuff. What do her calculations show? Mass exists in proportion with energy, yes? Well, after significant figures are accounted for, it seems our little clump of stuff is a few picograms lighter than it was previously. That's not a big difference. Not many labs have the equipment to measure that tiny weight. Not at all noteworthy. But it happened. Our clump of stuff, some of it went away. Even though what we have is now smaller, it's still the same material, the same stuff. If we shine the same wavelength of light on it again, it would behave the same way. The same electrons would be flung out to the same valence. We would note this in our leisure, shut off the light, and would be left with just a little bit less than what we started with. That's it.
Sam, that was gorgeously written, and your delivery was fucking wonderful. That was like audiobook caliber delivery. It really was. Like you picked up like through just like subtle changes in your intonation, you communicated like huge shifts in emotion within the piece. And I'm honestly in fucking awe of, of the way you delivered that.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, no, it's just beautifully, wonderfully written, and just so like psychologically intimate and precise and deep. And thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, wow, Sam, that piece reminds me of like a kind of darkly philosophical version of that guy from Blues Clues. I think his name is Steve. He did an album called Songs About Science and Love. Yeah, it reminds me of a darkly philosophical version of that. And the way you read it, of course, has your trademark Alan Watts vibes to it, and it's really fucking badass. I love it.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I think I say this every time you read, but I love how the way that you write about like day-to-day tedium, like the repetition, and it just puts so much like pathos into what is like normally boring everyday life.
Thanks, man. Yeah, that made I wrote it like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and then I sent it to my friend, and she said it made her cry. So I said, it's coming out on XCOD on Monday.
If it makes someone cry, you know it's good.
Yeah, that's the ultimate test right there.
It's powerful.
Gigi Rowland is up next. Thank you so much, by the way, Sam, for sharing that.
Oh,
Thank you.
Gigi, do you mind if I just put in the Misery Tourism link on the Twitter? Because I don't know how Twitter is going to take like 3 links or something. I'm not sure.
It will only, you can put them in and they'll work fine, but it only create a preview for whichever one you put in first. So
First,
put it in
okay.
First.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'll put the Misery Tourism one first, and I'll put the 2 web archive ones in first. How would that be?
You could put whichever one first you want. I don't want to.
But the only one I'm not linking, just to be clear, is the Tyrant one, right?
You should be able to link that one. I think you can link any of them because that's published. So.
Okay. Okay, I'll link all of them.
Gigi, are you still with us?
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, howdy.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. So I got 4 poems. Should I just read them?
Absolutely.
All right. So these will be pretty quick. The first one is called Kennedy. I will meet a lady with knees, some real knees that need support, Forrest Gump knees I can hide behind and hold on to, knees that would crush my knees if she fell, tree knees like bricks. I say, hey, I noticed you got knees like bricks. She says, stop talking to me. This poem's called I Like to Masturbate with Headphones On and the Door Unlocked in case a robber comes. I come on a robber. I'm a hero. Imagine the headlines. I'm congratulated for coming, finally. This poem's called Midnight Light. If my apples were as soft as my peaches, I'd throw them away. This is my last one. It's called William Carlos Williams is annoying, boring, and a bitch. I have fucked the plum into a pulp. Get me another, or I will skull fuck you like a plum into a pulp. That's all I got.
Man,
That was beautiful.
You
I mean, I
killed
love
me.
anything about skull fucking, but that was amazing.
Oh my
And
goodness.
fruit. Oh, this is why I come here.
GG, man, you killed me every fucking time.
Thank you.
Hey, GG, I've been meaning to tell you, you sent me something and it was really amazing. And I never responded because I'm an asshole, but it was really amazing.
You said something like you liked one poem, so that worked for me. Yeah, that's the book.
Yeah, it's great. Is it out? You're
I
right.
think July 13th, something like that. Later this month, yeah.
Hey, that's when I go to court. Okay, awesome.
I'll send you one.
remember that. I'll remember
Send me
that.
your address. I'll send you one, Eris.
Fuck yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude. The one with like coming on a robber, that was so good. Like, and I've entertained similar fantasies actually. So yeah, that was like my fantasies like lived in poetry. Love it.
Definitely a dream.
That, I was just going to say, Eris brought it up first, but you've got a book coming out, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I just want to like shill for it on Twitter. I don't really want to. I don't
Oh,
want to
you
waste
wanna-
time here.
You want to just say the name of it?
It's called He. It's out by Clash Books. Buy it if you want to waste your money. Thank you. It's all I got. Yeah.
Thank you so much, GG. I know I've got a copy coming and I'm anxiously looking forward to it. Okay.
Yeah, ditto. I'm waiting on mine too.
Is Rudy up next or did I accidentally skip? Oh, Griffin. Griffin's next.
Yes, I'm next. Okay. Here is the link. Okay, there's a significant visual component to this. And I'm gonna be reproducing it for the folks at home as best I can, but you really need to follow the link. It's very good. At least I think it's very good. So this is Kibale Corpse Blood. Kibale Corpse Blood goes into free fall on the truth beauty axis until she can see the green wireframe waves of the astral sea. A verdant bluff rises from the Blackstone beach. It is there she built her fortress 7 years ago. White bricks of memory from the minds of innocents and amnesiacs. Black bricks from the old and the dead. 12 stories and one grow from the cliff. Through the grand hall, a cathedral to herself, the walls muraled with her triumphs and glories. Down through her library, past walls of shelves, stolen tomes, Alexandrine scrolls, Akashic tablets, the lore of 1,000 worlds, and into her innermost sanctum, holy of holies, seat of her power. From here, she can see everything. And that's it. That's peace.
That was awesome. I will tell you though, it's still loading on my I was trying so hard to follow along. It's like load faster, goddammit. But this is fucking amazing. Did you create these collages? I assume, are these collages? Are they AI generated? How did you?
Yeah, they're neural network generated. I'm using something called latent visions. I'm not going to go into the like gory details, but it's really spookily good at doing text to image, like to a disturbing degree. And so I took the output from the program. It gives you like every 50 iterations on the image, it'll print one out. So I took all those and I made them into a GIF and I put the text on the GIF and I published the GIFs with the text on them.
That's beautiful.
Oh man, yeah, these are beautiful. I love the of the text and the images. It goes so well with like the way they're changing, the way it changes between frames is so creepy and just like scintillating.
The deep lore on this, by the way, that this is autofiction. I will not be elaborating further.
What is autofiction? It's just your life, right? It's just live journal, like, right?
It's being a tease. That's what it is.
I was a professional tease and then I retired.
I never
Now
retire. I
I'm,
don't
now
quit.
I'm just,
These colors don't run.
Yeah.
now I have fake teeth.
The piece I read was autofiction. For sure.
Autoerotic asphyxie fiction.
That's what I wrote.
Hell yeah, I'm doing that right now.
Yum.
Oh, Daniel. Oh my God.
The I thought that autofiction was One Little Husks. I thought that's what it was.
Those were, well,
Ruthless
those
little
weren't
husks.
one little husks, but I'm a one
Gravity-
little husk, so it works out.
Gravity's Rainbow is autofiction.
More like one
We're gonna
little
get-
bust.
Well, I
And
should-
you
I should-
do not have the same haircut as us.
When,
Also, where's the rest of your hair? Send it to me. I have my hair in my bathroom still.
Who's
oh, mine's it's gone.
You're
I
so
like your hair,
responsible.
Eris.
Why?
Yeah, it's good short.
It's good. It's good. Yeah.
No. I'm for the reading. I have like fake hair ideas, or maybe Gabriel will like bleach it some wonderful piss color or something, or like piss yellow. Not with actual pee, just like
You should get bangs. Do the blonde with bangs. Works.
I don't have my contacts in right now, so nothing's real. That's what I'm saying. Sorry.
Oh, well, nothing's real, whether or not, your eyes are open.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Thank you, William. I'm sorry.
Well, it's getting philosophical.
We've got one more piece, and then I'll end the reading, and then we can come completely unhinged. But
Oh,
Hell yeah.
last up tonight is Rudy.
Okay.
You have a piece to. I'm not.
I'm not gonna link it on Twitter just because I'm supposed to submit this to the Shelf Poetry thing. So I think they said it's supposed to be unpublished. So
It's shelf poetry, not snuff poetry, right?
not snuff poetry. That's what we do. That's our end here.
Yeah, we should have the snuff poetry jam just to compete.
Yeah, you should. But this is a direct link to it. Yeah. I'm gonna read like a few pieces. I'll read the intro thing to this, and then I'll read a few pieces. But basically, this is something I made with this little program that I use to make my supervillains come to life and talk to me while I write bad poetry. So yeah, this is called Personal Villainy, this collection of poetry. And here's a monologue from me. For this collection of personal reflections, regrets, and things I shouldn't say out loud, I created a constrained writing assistant program containing a bunch of supervillain concepts that I thought up over the course of a few years. A lot of the characters have personal meaning, and the stories are vaguely autofictional. There's the autofiction again, thus the name. The program itself, which I call Glyphs, prompts me with different rules for writing when I start a word with a letter that corresponds to the first letter of one of the supervillain's monikers. Generally, the rules are at the sentence level. Don't use backspace. Write about grudges. Change the tone of this sentence. Though certain ones are more general. One asked me to change how I write based on the results of a Twitter poll that it obliges me to make. A select few prompts, like the one for the villain who believes that vaginas literally devour a man's creative soul, enforce their rules on the text automatically. At least one rule shames me publicly by forcing me to tweet the current sentence when I finish it. The idea for the program came to me when I saw a thread on a writing forum urging people to let their characters take over when writing. I thought I'd love to do that literally, since my characters are strange, mentally ill shitheads, and I myself am a strange, mentally ill shithead. Picture of Winona Ryder from Beetlejuice. One feature of the Glyphs that provides me with a consistent source of inspiration, probably the key feature, is the ability to POW a character, which crosses out their personal rule at the cost of giving them agency in the narrative, something akin to creating a tulpa. POW'd characters must either appear in the prose itself, or I have to listen to them talk at me constantly while I'm writing. The latter is both very inspiring and very disruptive, and this mirrors the way my writing I spend my writing time anyway, split between fugue states of racing thoughts that are at once ideas, negative self-talk, and frustrations manifesting. It also adds an element of role playing to the work, making it some kind of personal RPG, solo RPG that generates prose poetry as an artifact of play. Most of the characters have descriptions available in the program, but don't waste your time reading them, please. If you absolutely pine for more dumb superhero content, you know where to find me. So yeah, okay, so the first one here is called Single Player. This constrained writing exercise is a single player immersive experience. Each line a branching narrative. This is young adult self-insert buck dance autofiction. Dialogue choices directed by a graph, insert bell curve here. No plot until my lovely bones are a ward of the state. If I pow a character, I excise their glyph so they won't bother me when I type. And at 11:30 a.m., a bother might mean I scream at father. Little boy studying at home, doing homework with father help. In a hypothetical future where I outlive my dad and burn the house for the insurance, I will be haunted by 3 ghosts. Only one will be my mother, and one of them will come 6 months before the others. Hatchet in hand, he will chop through the blanket hanging on the doorway of the door I broke instead of my dad's head, then drag me to safety, away from TTRPG tweets, League of Legends, and suicidal ideation. F.
Fuck yeah.
The next one is called Drive, and I won't read the footnotes. I'll just let you guys go through that if you want to. Drive. The rent is too damn high. My sex drive is too damn high. This is why I live with my dad. A secret Asian woman lives here rent free. She very public. Asian women are very happy. Religion is the opium of the people. Heroin addiction is less wrong. And she is addicted to believing, can't stop. And she is a sculptor of lies that stem from theories plucked elegantly out of the ether as arrows, as Lysenko's ravings, as I stare at her sandals and come anything but loud. Even the younglings, 200% chucked all marbles, tilt, when I selected Suicide by Skywalker that Sunday morning. Soldiers blinking between Wehrmacht and why, Ma? Goose stepping gaily behind age inverted me, 21 and 12 together, and boy am I sorry to Clark's surname, I guess. I am. And selfishness is a space station suspiciously circular around this suicidal buck. Blue saber ignited in Sunday school halls, fleeing the shit, swing at myself, everyone. And cops don't kill. Dun, dun, dun. Wah, wah, wah. Anakin spent a week submerged, robo-symbiosis, and I spent 2 weeks institutionalized. Was it worth it? Dispelling first Force ghosts, father's heart? The endorphins answered. Are you certain? Absolutely. Unicursal biting. I had a dream in Birmingham jail, which is what I call my head. Everyone was in high school forever. At the school fountain, which part of speech the word gay occupied was a hot topic, along with my mom's whereabouts, since in the dream she wasn't dead. ... Period 4 was starting. Science. And although Columbine doesn't make sense in endless high school, I thought of shooting the teacher. I was wearing a hijab, which doesn't make sense because I'm a male. A chick on my left, and I was hesitating, deleting words I didn't really want to say outright that I'm some kind of fucking faggot. Mentioned in casual conversation that that she thought of me as her sister, which took my mind off of shooting Mr. Meisberg. That girl was Muslim and wearing a hijab too. But after I glanced away to the window, which was an event horizon of the early 2000s, she became Gadget from Rescuers Down Under or whatever show. That was cool because I real politically wanted to destroy the whole goddamn school with a pipe bomb. Online only from now on. She agreed, and we wound up shooting Meisberg through his skull with a weapon we pixel hunted. Original monochrome vector illustration of a bandit skull with 2 guns in his hands. Shout out to women engineers. Also, a moral Peterson Humpers. Close up, black woman and man in love, sitting on couch, two people holding hands. Unicursal biting. Last one is called Willie Beamish. Mom says it's bedtime, so I close dominant species without beating my current level and beam into bed to beat myself. Willie Beamish. Anxiety about Miseman's Earth Science class, where I'm circled by brighter stars. Haven't learned about quantum entanglement yet. Eric hasn't done it yet, but I wish I could just keep. Da 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 da. Squeak. Masturbating mostly queerly. It's mostly queer stretches he does. And health class suggests stretching. Fuck public school with 3 Ks, and everyone inside says my Cyrix 200 megahertz mine while cum dries and morning fears quay. Soviet soldiers in a conga line to fuck self-esteem holes. Rim. And that's it.
Man, these
That
are
was fucking excellent. Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
oh no, it's okay, Eris, but no, that's fucking amazing. It's wild. This is my second time seeing these because you showed them to me a couple of days ago. And hearing you read them, it occurred to me like the mix of like sort of surreal stream of consciousness, like dream vision shit here, and invented characters that insert themselves into the poetry reminds me of my like all-time favorite poet, John Berryman in the Dream Songs.
The Mr. Bones and
Yeah.
yeah.
Mix of like really internal stream of consciousness, like dialogue and imagery, and with like the insertion of like these other entities, right? These other characters, these other voices into the poetry. It reminds me so much of that. And that's like in a good way, because this is like fucking wild. And I love some of so as usual, like the wordplay here is incredible. Like your use of less wrong is great.
Yes.
There was one other, I know I'm rambling, but there was one other thing that I forgot that I pointed out earlier that I wanted to mention on the wordplay front that I really loved. I'm scrolling up at, the Lovely Bones are award of the state thing in the young adult section. That was great too. As usual, there's just like such a density in the way you use language and the way your language is pointing at like 6 things at once, oftentimes. So it's fucking rad, man.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Lord, I apologize for the Lovely Bones stuff. I've never even read the fucking Lovely Bones, and I'm glad because
When I was offered to read the Lovely Bones in New Jersey, so that tells you everything.
Oh boy, New Jersey.
I had to read, I think I've said this before, but it was like a college contemporary fiction class or whatever, and it was the first book of the class. And I went to the professor while I was reading it, and I was basically like, I wasn't this blunt, but I was basically like, well, why did you assign this? This sucks. And he was like, yeah, I know, but
I remember this, like to get like
yeah, he's like the first book I assign for any class, I want it to be something that the students are going to like, so their eyes don't glaze over when the harder stuff comes. And it's like,
was it hardcover or soft cover or paperback? I mean,
it was a paperback version.
So you can't really hate yourself or anything.
No, but it was a bad experience.
Yeah.
The only books I read for college were like American Queer and Is It a Date or Just Coffee?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
All right. I know we usually actually Tyler. Is Tyler here anywhere? Did you see Tyler?
I'd have to, in order to look for him, I'd have to scroll this thing. Can I do that
Tyler
without?
is not here.
Okay, thank you.
I'm showing it. I don't see
Thank you,
Thank you, Griffin. So I know we usually do an open mic, but I'm really scared that if I push my luck too far tonight, the Skype client will crash on my netbook and I'll lose the recording, even though Rudy's doing a duplicate here. So I think we'll call it a night there. As usual, I'll leave the Zoom meeting up at least for a little bit in case people want to chat or bullshit or whatever. If you did want to read tonight, just shoot me a DM on Twitter. I'll sign you up for next week. Okay, that's it. This has been Misery Loves Company. If you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, you can find us at miserytourism.com or follow us on Twitter at miserytourism. We do this every week, as I said, every Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. Anyone is welcome to come and read. Anyone is welcome to come and lurk, come and watch, come and listen. So we tweet the link out about 15 minutes before, so just check that out on Twitter. Okay, that's it. Fuck it, we're done here. Oh, no, we're not, because I can't figure out how to set others.